I just want to double check that because last time I did a live stream I had a little bit of microphone issue. I'm just gonna, whoops, not on this layer. Do what? Turn on new layer. Check and make sure there's no lag as well. So if you guys just let me know, make sure there's no lag here. I'll draw a vertical line, horizontal line. There you go. Cool. Just undo those. Oops. But one of the things that I put on my Patreon to vote for was the War of the Worlds. And the voting, I think the voting ends today, funnily enough. But the War of the Worlds one got some good results in. And I'm going to do that. Now, this isn't that. But I thought it was the answer I pretty much most liked myself. So I thought maybe I'll just do a rough sketch anyway. And just get some ideas down, see what I would do for the Patreon. If that's how it finishes up by the end of today. You know. If it ends up going a different way, then that's fine. But if it goes that way, then that's cool too. Obviously, then I can do kind of a full tutorial on that. There were other options in there like fantasy landscapes, sci-fi landscapes, and focusing on facial features, etc., etc. Oh, K-Sin. Sorry, not K-Chin. Sorry. I'm reading it off another monitor out of the corner of my eye. So, sorry. I do apologise. It's always a danger when you're reading names out. Some names I just avoid altogether, but yeah, I do apologise. Where's everybody from then? Anybody want to tell me where they're from? It's that kind of time of day where we could have anybody watching from anywhere. It's not particularly, you know, I don't know where it is night time at the moment. It's 8 o'clock, 7:30 for me. Hey, from Connecticut. You know what? I'm going to make this. Whoops. I'm going to make this smaller and do it more as kind of a thumbnail. Because I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get trapped in the idea here of trying to draw detail. Where what I want to do is I want to draw this shape that I've got in my mind. I don't want to draw I don't want to go and draw all the nuts and bolts of this big War of the Worlds tripod straight away. I want to draw the shape and get the shape right. So the best thing to do is actually kind of start off in a very thumbnail way. You know, and get that right. Hi Daniel. 12:30. Is that PM or AM? It'll be PM for K-Sin in the afternoon. So I'm guessing it's going to be afternoon as well for Daniel. Yeah. Yeah, so everyone's pretty much just enjoying their Sunday afternoon. I did wonder as to what kind of tripod I should do. You know, I could have gone for the more oval one. You know, with kind of one eye. And giving it kind of more tendrily legs. Like that. But I don't want to make it too old school. I just had something a bit more mechanical in mind, but I didn't want to make it too steampunky either. I just reread the book recently, so yeah, PM. I thought so. I don't know if anybody's read the book, but the book is vastly different to like the films that they put out. And the book's really good, and the book, you know, doesn't even contain the tripods for ages, and when it does, the tripods are kind of the least of everybody's worries in a way. But the tripods are probably the most visually impressive thing in there, so that's why the films and everything have always focused on there. Just clear that bit of something that was at the side. Feel free to ask any questions if you have them. I don't know if is everyone here a digital painter? If you are, have you what are you painting on? What devices? What software? In the books, one of the things that they actually have is like this massive cannon as well. They don't have it until like a certain point in the book, but they do have this huge cannon, which is kind of cool. Okay, Sin just got a Huey on tablet for Christmas. Oh, you're 13. Daniel's got a Surface Pro 3 and a Surface Book. And you like Photoshop and Sketchable. Hi Joey. You got the 12-inch Cintiq and you like Photoshop. After 25, you're getting back into drawing after 25 years. Wow. That's very cool. Are you finding it easy or hard then getting back into drawing? I mean, I don't know whether that would be... Would it be like riding a bicycle, or... Is it hard to get back into it? Hi, Technord. You like Photoshop, Mischief, and Clip Studio? That's a nice broad, you know, kind of array of painting software. I mean, I can tell just by the software that you're using that you obviously like line art. I suggested those 3 pieces of software to somebody the other day for specifically doing line art. So I've got this basic sketch now and I'm happy with this. I like this. First thing I'm going to do is just copy that layer so I don't mess up what I'm about to do, which is, first things first, I'm just going to make the whole thing bigger. Like that. Now you may have noticed that I've kind of set this whole thing up as a bit of book cover. I do a lot of book covers professionally, so for me, you know, it's doing it like this as a kind of a template is nice, and it's just an easy way to kind of get this started. I have a template which I've made myself over the years and refined. This white border around the top here, there you go. It's just an overlay which makes sure that I've got some bleed, so when it gets printed, you know, you always need extra image around the edge there. So I just keep this white border on over the top. That just makes sure that, you know, I never run out of image. I've always got a bit more than I need. I mock a title up, even if it's not exactly the right title. And that way I just know how much room I've got for my title. Now I've bunged the author's name in there at the top, even though it can move down to the bottom. But I'm always aware of space, basically. Because a book cover, you need to leave room for, you know, things like the title of the book, etc, etc. So I've moved this into place now and I've tilted it on its angle a bit. But what I'm going to do now is just use my lasso tool to grab certain elements like this. And I want to actually make this bigger, even more so. I think I'm going to tilt it a bit more. And one thing I'm going to do is actually make this wider as well. I want this whole perspective issue of looking up, so What would be a good drawing program, a free drawing program, for a really, oh dear God, for a really old Mac? OS 6.8. Do you know something? I have no idea, literally. The only thing I can think of is that I'm pretty sure that really old versions of Photoshop are free. I remember hearing a rumor that you can get really old versions of Photoshop for free. If that's true, then that would actually be perfect for you. So, not 100%, but if I'm right, then yeah, there you go. I mean, back then they didn't have many drawing programs. You know, a lot of those ones are still around. You got to remember, back when OS 6 was available, Wacom were the only drawing tablet, and we didn't have Cintiqs. There was no drawing on screens back then. So, digital art was in its real infancy. I mean, I'm trying to remember when 6.8 was. And that's the 90s. But, so I mean, realistically, yeah. I mean, it's not going to be pretty, whatever it is. I mean, to be honest, I'd just say leave it alone. I've thrown machines out, literally in the bin, that can run stuff better than that. But what is it you're trying to run? This leg, I'm going to make this tiny bit smaller, slimmer. Maybe move it over a bit. The idea is to make it look like it's in the middle of walking. There we go. But also to make this kind of really dynamic. You know, and the crux of that is this shape here, like this. You know, and here's my main body of focus. So it's about having a dynamic angle on your page. You know, forget the title for the moment. Oops. Forget the title for the moment, but you've got this line that runs through here. And my legs. So I've got to just create this very dynamic shape on my page. Mischief is pretty nice, I agree with that. Thanks for the compliment, Daniel. Alright, so now that I've stretched these legs out a bit, I've got to come back and just kind of fill in the gaps. one other thing I do want to do is kind of grab this leg that's in the back here. I want to grab my eraser like that, grab a nice big eraser. And just kind of soften that up. Because it's one of the things about making this tripod is that how do you make a tripod actually look kind of cool? How do you make a tripod that doesn't look like it's just a funny looking tripod? You know? One way of doing that is just to make it look a bit, I don't know, less like a tripod. The only trouble using a giant eraser is that sometimes it can be a bit laggy. Next thing I want to do is, because I'm trying to do this kind of quickly, actually, before I do that, I'm going to bring down, and I'm going to do this on a different layer, is bring down like the back of the hat here, back of the headpiece, because he would have more behind him, but obviously you can see I'm kind of losing detail now. That's why I'm doing it on a different layer, because then it's easier for me to kind of go in with an eraser and just kind of save some of this detail. There we go, like that. And then I can squash them two together. Command and E. Right, what I intend to do now is actually with a new layer. This is actually better to zoom out and do this. So I should be doing it, if I was working alone, I'd be doing it at kind of this scale. But because you're with me, I'm actually going to do this full size, because then you can actually see what I'm doing. Which is, I'm going to lay in some buildings. So I'm going to grab a nice big brush, and I'm just going to put in some buildings. And these aren't full buildings, these are like wreckage of buildings. So you get an idea of the kind of perspective I'm going for now. And the good thing is, here on this, you can see that I've just used the kind of standard Photoshop brush. I haven't tried to do anything overly complex or silly. You know, this is just Photoshop standard brush. TechNod said he spent today learning about Adobe After Effects. I actually taught myself Adobe After Effects last year. How to do things like channel trailers, you know, channel intros, stuff like that. So if you watch any of the videos on my channel, or the my new channel intro, built from scratch in After Effects by myself, without having to, you know, watch any tutorials or anything like that to make that one, because I've taught myself After Effects. I've taught myself how to animate in After Effects. Yeah, I kind of know After Effects from beginning to end now. It's really fun. I actually enjoy it. I was surprised how much I enjoyed After Effects. Now I'm just going to grab my eraser and stop this all looking so kind of round. For this I'll turn off my white border as well, because you can see the trouble with working like that with a white border is that you get these things here where you don't realise you have only gone to the white border. So you've got to just do that every now and again. Yeah, Premiere's been kind of invaluable to me. I used to use a different program for editing my YouTube videos, but to be honest, I used to use Camtasia, but it just crashed all the time, and it wasn't. It's good for screen recording, and I still use it for that, but I won't use it for editing. To be honest, yeah. Premiere's brilliant though. I absolutely love Premiere. Adobe just makes really great software all around, so I'm happy to just stick with them for pretty much everything. But you know, I use Painter, Photoshop, I use Sketchable. You know, in terms of art software, I do use a fair few different things, but that's really because you have to use different pieces of software because they do different jobs. You know? Yeah, I'm drawing in Photoshop right now. Kirsten just asked if I use Photoshop. I often draw in Photoshop for my YouTube stuff. More so because I just think more people kind of are looking for that on YouTube. You know, I've gotten more requests for that, but you know, if I get more requests for something else, if people ask more for Painter or if people ask more for Sketchable, for example, then that's what I'll do. Obviously, I've got my Patreon as well, so you know, people can ask for specific things in there, and you know, vote for things. Like I said, you know, at the moment, one of the things that people could vote for is War of the Worlds on my Patreon, and I'd give them a full tutorial on painting War of the Worlds, and then they get the Photoshop file, the high res, and all the brushes, etc. that I'd use. You know, and the video tutorial, everything like that. But you see how just with the normal brushes and the normal erasers that this is starting to look like, you know, kind of a war-torn set of buildings. Switch back to the brush here. Just go for a smaller, oops, not 1 pixel. I like to jump to 1 pixel as I'm dragging my brush away. There we go. I wouldn't even go for a CS version. I mean, literally, I would think Photoshop 5. And I'm not on about CS5, I'm talking Photoshop 5. Photoshop 5, Photoshop 6, Photoshop 7. Like, literally before they even got to the CSs. Before CS1. You know, I think you're talking like 90s Photoshops. I remember when the selection tool came into Photoshop. Believe me, any painting package that you find that will run on that operating system will you will just look at it and you'll be like, what? It will not be an enjoyable process. I wouldn't want to paint on that operating system, because any app that can run in it is just going to be horrible to use. Or at least I would say it was horrible to use. But hey, I don't mean to put a downer on it. I'm just saying that I don't think it would be a massively fun experience to go using really old versions of software. I don't know what version, I don't know what machine you're running that requires that. But I mean, I had Wacoms back then. You know, and we didn't have tilt or pen pressure level. You know, like digital art was just so basic. So it's kind of like, just don't expect too much. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to move on and add another layer now. I think I can delete that very, very small one at the back. Can't even remember what that layer is. No idea, I'll bin it. So you see I've only got a few layers in there. And this time I'm going to move on to kind of white. Oops. And for some reason I'm trying to paint with an eraser. At the moment I'm just trying to get the kind of feel of it right, rather than paint detail. You know, there might be some things that are massively wrong, but I just really need to get the feel of this right. You know, I still don't know in my head what every little piece looks like, but the main thing is as long as the kind of atmosphere in there is correct. That's the main thing. Oh, it's not it's not OS 6, it's OS 10.6. That makes a lot of difference then. Yeah, if it's OS 6, 10.6, then yeah, just look up the basics of free art software. But I mean, you can find there's a ton of free stuff. None of the names are coming ahead at the moment. Yeah, there's a couple out there. Oh, there's a basic one that's a lot like Photoshop. I just can't remember the name of it. It's basically like a free version of Photoshop. I think I looked at it once for about 20 minutes. But for me, it's missing a lot of the tools that I use. But if you're just learning, then why not? There's one called GIMP, which everybody loves. It's the only one that's coming to mind at the top of my head. I'm going to introduce another layer here. And what I'm going to do is just take a large brush with no hardness. I'm actually going to go for like the pretty much almost the largest brush my Photoshop can handle. And just bob that in behind the tripod. And all that's going to do is add focus to where the tripod is. Like that. And that's pretty cool. So you see without, with, just adds that focus. So I actually want to go into kind of my city now and start just adding a bit more depth into there, which is easy. Again, I just want to rock back to that brush I was using before, which is this row here, just tells me which brushes I've used before. Yeah, Andrew says the same. GIMP. Cheers, Andrew. There's a couple of free ones out there. It's just, you know, some of them are a bit rubbish. Some of them are alright. I think the general consensus is that GIMP is one of the better ones. GIMP certainly tries to be more like Photoshop. And it's been around the longest, so it certainly succeeds a bit more. If you got any questions, just, you know, fire them at me, let me know. I actually use different pieces of software on the different pieces of tech that I use. So it's like on my Surface, I'll use Sketchable more than anything. You know, but I had a kind of hand in developing that, in the fact that I actually created the branding for that. But I do beta testing with those guys, and you know, do some artwork for them every now and again, and so on and so forth. But with I tend to do more unfinished work on my Surface, when I'm just, you know, my more mobile devices, and then polish off and do a more finished work when I sit down at my Wacom. Good thing about this layer now being behind is that I can drop the opacity on this layer. You see the difference that makes now. One other thing that I wanted to add with this layer was I wanted to I wasn't sure how these are going to look. I'm going to draw them bigger than I need them. And normally what I would actually do would actually get some image reference in here. So I'm drawing like the exact planes. You know? So that these planes were precise. But for right now, it's fine. Make them look a tiny bit more aerodynamic. They don't have to look perfect because I'm making them smaller anyway. When I say them, I do mean them. There you go. So grab that, hold down Alt. While I've got that, I'll just free transform it. Hold down Alt again. There we go. If I wanted to be pedantic, I could just, you know, free transform it a bit each time, rotate it a little bit, you know, just to make it, each one a tiny bit different. What I will do is just erase those a bit so they don't stand out too much. See that one? I will actually just free transform him, touch, just rotate him 2.2 degrees. See, that is pedantic. Medibang Paint Pro. I have never even heard of it. Fire Alpaca I've heard of, and I've heard people say it's good. I looked at it, it looked kind of basic compared with, you know, other programs, but, you know, I've heard good things. Kevin says he uses a bamboo. I've tried using a router a couple of times, and yeah, there's more of my old man who could do stuff like that. I tend to just stay digital. I'm not that great with my hands. I do admire people like that. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments here. The good thing about those planes is I can just grab those, just hold down Alt, drag more of them up there, and rotate those. Oops, I don't think I want them that rotated, but I could, you know, like thoroughly litter the sky with planes. This being a book cover, I don't think I want to do that, but it's nice to have a few around. You know, just in strategic places. It's also nice if I come to the front layer here, just add in a new layer. Come down the bottom. Now I've got a lot of custom brushes, but I tend not to use too many of them. What I have got is some good, I can never find them. That's when you know you've got too many brushes, when you can't find the ones you want. There we go. Nice simple cloud brush. And this is just to add some smoke in. Now, best thing to do with this is just kind of dot the stuff around. Hey, it's Modra. I knew I'd see you at some point. And again, this is just for the atmosphere. these clouds are a bit too strong, so I'm just going to knock these back a bit. But they are working, so I'm going to block in another layer, and I'm actually going to go to black, take the opacity right down, and add some more in the background. You may not be able to see these just because of the resolution of the stream though. What I'll do is I'll place this picture once I'm done with it on my Patreon page. Ha 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 ha. You'll be able to go check it out. But I'll put this on my Patreon page so you can kind of check that out and have a look. And that's, well, I'll bring that in the chat here so you can have a look at it. And that'll be up there when the stream's over. So it's Patreon. Helps if I can type. Yeah, so that's my Patreon, and when the stream's over, I'll put the final picture up there and you can go and have a look at it. So you can see all the detail. So even if the stream's not as crisp and clear as it should be, you'll still be able to check it all out. And that way, you know, if you want to join my Patreon, you know, the benefits are up there so you can see the kind of stuff I'm offering. The good thing about this smoke here is that it's really kind of, you know, adding to that old kind of world effect that we kind of expect from HGWells and War of the Worlds. Now I'm going to take a different brush here, and I'm just going to do a different, whoops, use this one. No, I'm not going to. There we go. There we go. Just add some more bits into the background. But again, just turn the opacity right down. Just trying to find the right layer mix for this. That works kind of nice. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this first layer with the clouds on here. I say clouds, it's on this front layer, yes, it's not supposed to be clouds. So I'm going to come back to this. I'm actually going to delete the stuff that's over the tripod's legs, because here The tripod is kind of cutting through the mist and the smoke. The others will leave behind, but this particular kind of leg is just kind of going boom, 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 and kind of cutting through it also. This particular one will have it kind of cutting through it. There we go. I think that's quite nice. I think when I zoom out as well, you can see it up there in the corner normally as a little thumbnail, but unfortunately you can't at the moment because it's normally there, but this window here is blocking your view. So I can see the thumbnail, but you can't. But this little thumbnail is working for me, especially when I put the white border on. So, and even if I turn off the white border and the title, still looks quite nice. So it's kind of like happy with that. I think the next thing to do is kind of start adding some more basic tone, maybe some detail. Hey Jose. Thank you very much. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. So it's kind of like, yeah, when I zoom in, this actually looks like a piece of rubbish. But the good thing is, now at least I know the atmosphere of the overall piece looks pretty good and I'm happy with that. So what I could do is I could collapse that down, move into a new folder. See how that works? Because I got my title in a completely different folder. So that's why I set those little folders up like that. And they're just set up in my kind of template folder. So I can just grab that template and start drawing. You know, if a client rings me and says, oh, you know, can I talk to you quickly about this? I don't have to go and set up a new image. I just grab that and I can rename it later or whatever. Another thing you can do is just, as well as just flattening an image, as well as just starting on a new folder, should I say, is you can flatten an image and then use the use this brush here, which is the mixer brush, and start slopping all your layers around. But when you're painting something more mechanical like this, it doesn't look as good. It can do, but meh. Something about it which doesn't look as good. You're better off kind of readdressing all of your lines. I've seen some illustrators who first of all will draw this all in, will then take this sketch into, say, the likes of Adobe Illustrator, get all these lines really crisp, and then come back and digitally paint it. And it's, you know, it's the kind of thing you could do. I think it depends how technically accurate you wanted your piece to be. That's what it really comes down to. Are you more about the emotion of the piece, or are you more about its technical accuracy? I mean, don't get me wrong, some people can achieve both and make it look absolutely beautiful. Some people, you know, do these amazingly emotional pieces that are not technically accurate. What I would be very tempted to do with this piece is kind of rotate my canvas like this and kind of make him feel like he was actually centered. You know, so if I turn on my guides for a minute, oops, you know, you can see that's level, and that's not very good to me. But if I tell you what, if I drag him over here, you can see where the center is against the butt of this kind of line here. You know, it's nicer to have him upright if you're trying to draw something which is supposed to be a bit more symmetrical. That's why it's nice to rotate your canvas there. Then at least you know you have a bit more of a feeling about where your lines are supposed to meet. It's also nice, you know, why it's nice to rotate your canvas as well. I've got my arm on my drawing table on an ergotron arm here, which is brilliant for rotating, but not while I'm doing live streams. It's not. I'm recording videos. When you're recording videos and doing live streams, rotating your Wacom is actually a really bad idea. I did it once and it ended horrendously. Joey asked if I live stream every Sunday. No, actually. Though that would be kind of cool and kind of nice. Part of me wouldn't mind live streaming every Sunday. Problem is, I have a 2-year-old boy. So I'll tell you what, let me ask you something while I've got you all here. I have a 2-year-old boy. And don't worry, it's not a daddy question. And a lot of the time I don't live stream because the sound of me live streaming, my voice is very loud and I can wake him up quite easily. So, you know, I kind of get put off of live streaming because I don't want to wake my son up if he's trying to nap or something like that. You know, and I don't want to do a live stream for like 10-15 minutes and then have to stop. Do you know what I mean? So I had this question which was, is it okay to live stream without audio? Do you know what I mean? Is it okay if I just live streamed completely quietly? Because if so, I could do that. If I just live streamed completely quietly, you know, if I just sat here and drew and shut up, I could do that. You know, it would probably feel a bit odd. You know, if you had a question, I could just, you know, kind of write it here on the screen like that. But is that okay to kind of live stream without a mic on? Would you prefer if I just shut up and drew? Let me know what you think. Is it a weird idea? Are you saying it's weird then, Joey? I mean, Rude the Diamond is saying shut up and draw, but then Rude the Diamond is fairly rude. You especially notice that if you get his or her, I don't know, especially weird comments on some of my YouTube videos. We're still waiting for Rude to confirm. I don't know if I want to whisper. I could whisper, but yeah. Tell you what, I like this area, so I'm just going to copy merged. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And now paste in place. Yep. Flip horizontal. See, the trouble is because I have my canvas rotated. See, if I'd have just drawn a perfectly symmetrical one. There we go. His. Rude is a his, apparently. Oh, like David Attenborough. Yeah, you've seen my videos. You know I don't really whisper. I mean, I have tried whispering. It doesn't really work for me. So is that a no on the whispering, on the silent live streams then? Do they just not work at all? Okay, it was just an idea. I just thought, you know, it's better than not live streaming. If you've got any questions, just remember to chime in and ask. The good thing about this is it was such a good book, but HGWells was actually really bad at giving like physical directions for how these things actually looked. You know, he was like metal tripods, yeah. And now everybody just has in their head the latest Tom Cruise movie that I found really unenjoyable. You know, I love all the Tom Cruise movies, but it's kind of like his latest film, the latest one of these. I just didn't get any enjoyment. I found it so sad. Even though his son was alive at the end, it was like, sorry if that was a spoiler for anyone, by the way. You have had enough time to watch this. But even though his son was alive at the end, it's like, it was just so much of a downer film. Yeah, see, that's the problem, Chris. I do talk and get told off by the missus. And it's kind of like, you know, is it worth, you know? And they get, you know, kids get worse as well. They honestly do. They get worse over time with how they won't sleep and stuff. And the more they won't sleep, the more your missus won't sleep. And when you're live streaming on YouTube, you know, that's something you can get physically beaten for. So I could actually live stream without sound. I thought, yeah, I'll do that. But if it turns out people actually just would rather have no live streaming, here we go. I'm liking how creepy this guy is looking. I want to give him some little kind of around the eyes, just tiny brass flourishes. even though it's kind of the thing that no one would ever notice. It's the kind of thing that maybe I know is there. I mean, maybe you will notice, but yeah, when you zoom out, you definitely can't see them when you zoom out. But when you zoom in, at least you can see them then. Slow clap for rude, yeah. You know, I'm just going to have a bit of fun and do this gun. I mean, for parts of this that I want to delete, they're on the other layer, so I can't get to them. So I could like select colors from the background layer and do that. That's one way to do it. The only problem this offers then, if I want to go back and change the background layer, that means I'm a bit stuffed. So it's kind of a danger you run into. But then if you're the kind of person who keeps flattening layers, you're never going to have to worry. It just depends what you want to kind of do. If it was a paid job, probably wouldn't have done it. There we go. Trouble is as well, we'll try and match the background like that, is you never get it spot on. You can always cover it with something there. Yeah, Chris, I've just drawn all of this now. This was just a blank piece when you joined in. Sorry, when I started the video. I'll see how far I go on this and, you know, keep it going. I've no reason to stop. The funny thing is that The War of the Worlds, yeah, it's a book. It's actually one of my favourite books. The funny thing is that the book itself is out of license. I can't remember the exact legal term for it, but it means that anyone's allowed to publish it. So I can in fact publish this book myself. I can create a cover for this book. I could create a lovely illustrated version of this book myself and publish it. How cool would that be if I fully illustrated a version of this book and printed it and, you know, did everything like that? Because how many times have you seen like gorgeously illustrated copies of books? I mean, the only problem is how well would it sell? But I mean, that's what it comes down to. But yeah, it would be very cool for me to do like the entire illustrated book, or even just a you know, a really nice cover. My favourite book is actually The Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham, and I have a first edition on my shelf. I would love to do the actual book cover for that for Penguin. I'd love to actually do the book cover for that. But we'll just have to wait and see if that job ever rolls in the door. I did think about playing the HGWells one over the top of this, but then I didn't know whether that would land me in trouble. And it's YouTube, so you can get into bother for some stuff. And I thought it was better just to play it safe. Here we go. This is weird because I had some kind of leg thing going on down here, but I didn't even fully know myself what I wanted to do. I'm not saying I'm 100% sure now, but I did just want to turn it into some kind of pincer like that. I thought it'd be better just to keep it kind of relatively simple on this one. There we go. And I'm liking how the cables are looking on the legs as well, so. Oh, do I have a picture on my desk? No. I'm just drawing. I mean, I know a tripod, you know. It's literally just started off like, look, I'll draw him again for you. That's how the video started, just like that. And then it went on from there. Hasn't been anything overly complex to it. You know, I'm just kind of drawing what comes out in my head. You know, each line kind of looks like something to me, so I just go along with that. Oops. Here you go, get the brush. I'm pretty happy with that so far. It's not looking too techy yet, but he's not looking. His top half isn't looking too light. We need to sort that out. Obviously, you would have more lighting from above. I am liking how he's looking there. Overall, he looks like there's something in there and it's not just a machine. Which is kind of what I was going for, sir. One thing I do want to do is I want to add in something else that kind of could be him but isn't him. Right, a distraction. Almost. And I'm only trying this. I don't know that this will work or not. Because this might look rubbish. But it's one of those things that might also look kind of cool. He says. Again, I'm having to turn off my mask because I'm guessing this hasn't quite reached the bottom. Oh, it has, but there's some scruff around the edge. There we go. So I'll turn that on, but one thing I notice is that it's too far in the foreground, so I'm going to use my levels and just, oops, it's the other side, and just bring this into the background a bit. Just like, say there, and that's fine. Then I just want to rob some of this lighter colour. There we go. The whole reason of this is to throw off the circles that you've got on the tripod. And also to add that kind of element of, we've got everything about this is alien. even the buildings in the background, we know they're buildings, but they're destroyed, so they're still kind of alien. Apart from the planes that we recognise, at least the traffic lights that they did have back then, at least the traffic lights aren't alien. So, and there's 3 of them. And it seems kind of, you know, in a way it's nice because you're seeing something that's real, but in another sense it's not nice because it's the city that's destroyed. Another thing I do want to do, actually, I want to try adding in maybe a second tripod, just to see what that looks like. Cheers, Rude. Sorry, I'm just going to have to stop and read the comments now. Oh yeah, I do remember the rock album of this. That was kind of cool. Chris owns a small print shop in the southeast of London. Now, when you say a print shop, do you mean selling prints or printing prints? So I'm happy with that in a way, but not in another way, because it doesn't look like I'm looking up at this guy. So I just have to kind of tweak him. And I know exactly how I'm going to tweak him. I'm just going to... All I'm going to do is I'm going to erase like a bit of his top. Like that. Oops. And move it more behind him. In fact, I think actually I need to move his whole body up as well. There we go. And then just darken that a bit and just... There we go. I think once I've tilted him at that angle, squashed him a bit too much. There we go. It's just a matter of finding him his right place on the stage. Might actually be better flipped. No, not better flipped. And I'll tell you why he's not better flipped. He's not better flipped because it's actually a line. People read in that direction. The War of the Worlds. Oops. Bit of lag there for a moment. The War of the Worlds. So people read left to right, and if you put somebody facing that direction, it looks really wrong. You want people facing that direction because you want them to open this corner of the book. So when you're doing books, that's what you do. He's alright because he's just staring outwards, but in essence, he's kind of stepping this way, but we can kind of forgive that because it's not too harsh. You know, we could look at the whole piece and say, is it better if we flip it? You know, like that. You know what? Looking at that, I actually do prefer that. So I think we'll grab our little guy down at the bottom and flip him. Hey, like that. See, now he makes more sense. One thing is though, he's too much in the foreground, so I need to just pop open my levels. Just push him into the back like that. Not too far in the back because I don't want him sitting under the buildings. But we want him about on the same level, so there we go. One thing that's good about flipping a painting is that you notice when you flip paintings, and a lot of artists constantly flip paintings backwards and forwards like that, one thing you notice is you might pick up on some little problems and things you didn't like. like I've just noticed, I don't like the fact that the helmet here doesn't look wide enough on this side now. So I'm just going to go in and just change that shape a bit there, like that. That's fine. Here we go. Just add in some more bits under here. I've made his kind of hat there a bit like a roof. I quite like it. Might not be to everyone's taste. But yeah, it just depends, you know, kind of what you like. I don't want to do anything too steampunky, but at the same time, you know, I didn't want to do anything too sleek and too much that resembled the last movie. And I didn't want it to look too kind of alive, as in, you know, too animal. I like the ramshackleness of steampunk, but yeah. Hopefully all that makes sense to at least one person. I am just, for this whole painting, I have just used this, this is Photoshop standard brush for this entire thing. I haven't used any special brushes for this. And for most of my paintings, if you go on my website, which is LAWRENCEman.co.uk, for most of my paintings, Photoshop standard brush. I'm a strong believer that you know, for most of it, the brushes, Photoshop's brushes, the custom brushes just make life easier. I don't think they make you a better painter, you know? Custom brushes, don't get me wrong, I think they're great, but I just think some people overly rely on them. I think you can do anything you want with the standard brush. Sometimes it might take longer, sure, but I think it's certainly, you know, anything can be done with it. And quite often I'll just, you know, just carry on painting with a standard brush. Because I don't like looking at a painting and saying, oh hey look, that's a Photoshop brush. I'll often go out of my way to make sure something doesn't look like a custom brush. Even if I've used a custom brush, I'll paint over the top of that area with like 1,000 little taps of a normal brush, just to make sure it doesn't look like it's quickly done in a custom brush. Because custom brushes at the end of the day give you patterns. That's what they do. And I think that's fine. I'm not knocking custom brushes. I just think it's better to make it look at least like you haven't used one. Even if you have. If you can do it without making it look like you've used one, then more power to you. Oh, I'm liking this. All these little cables and stuff. Because I can add them around everywhere, even in like white and stuff. And you'll barely notice. I'm going to add another layer over the top. Go back to like a big brush. Again, just Photoshop standard. And just do that. So I'm just adding in some lights basically. I'm going to dull them down, I just want them in there. Go to a smaller brush and just add a few in. Oops, maybe a tiny bit bigger. There we go. Now. Right, tell you what. Let's not try and brush that. Let's fill colour it. Boom. Hello, hue. Or colour, my old friend. I was going to brush it because I thought it would be easy, but it's not. Last thing I want though is a big flat colour. Let's sup the yellow out of that there. Up my brush size a bit and gonna have to wait for brush lag on this now. Excuse me. I have a digital pipe to go with this occasion. How cool is that? Alright, there we go. And I plumb a bit more blue into it just to make sure we've got like kind of a blue sky going on here. See, in painting in black and white's easy because you don't have to worry about colours or tones too much. Colours in your tones, sorry, too much. You don't have to constantly keep picking different colours while you're working. You can just keep working in black and white. You know, sure you can add in loads more greys and etc., but you're just working in tonal values. Once you got your painting kind of at least halfway done, then you can start adding in more colours. You know, this is just a quick sketch at the end of the day. But, you know, once you got it a bit more done and polished, then it's time to go back in and add in your colours like this. And get it all worked in. Working with such a big brush though causes like computer lag. That's the only trouble. And it's not helped at all by the fact that I'm streaming. Best thing to do this if you're doing like a haze colour effect like I'm doing right now is to do this on kind of a 2 or 3 layers just so you get kind of over effects, kind of a washing like you do on a watercolour. You do this in several different layers, you wouldn't do this in kind of like one version. That way the colours just blend better. Just noticed that I've still got the tripod at the bottom. His lights need lighting up as well. That's easy enough to do. Alright, so I've done 2 layers. I'm going to change my brush back to a nicer size. Go for that white. Just add in some bright lights for this tripod in the background. There we go. And that's on the same layer that the other tripod's lights are on anyway. There we go. Now what I should do is bung all my colours in a folder, so that way I can turn the colours on and off, and you can just look at the piece as a mono piece again whenever you want. There we go. Add another layer. And I can just come in, make this nice and hard. All I need to do is find, best thing to do is just paint a quick patch over like an area of the tripod here, and then just cycle through and find an area that I quite like. I quite like screen because it affects pretty much everything. But that's what I was looking for, linear dodge add. See, it affects the whites and the blacks, and in this case that's what I want. And I can actually just go right over the lights there because my lights are still nice and bright. The main thing is that I don't go outside of the tripod. This is still a really sketchy drawing, but at this point I'm not bothered about that. What I'm kind of doing is I'm kind of creating like a mask here, a hand-drawn mask. See you later, Chris. You have a good one. These lines aren't perfect, but I'm not fussed about that. Now I've got some intentions with what I'm going to do with this colour and how I'm going to use it. Right now, that's why I'm being really rough, especially down here in places like this. You know, I'm not even bothering to go down past the white border. And that's fine. I could easily turn this into a finished piece. And the way to do that would be to actually just keep working on it, because the difference between a finished piece and a sketch is just the amount of time you want to put in on it. You know, realistically, I do often start my finished pieces normally knowing the finished pieces, so you know, start them in a specific way, but it's not that different. Even my sketches I do at high resolution. The reason being that if I do ever want to turn any of them into a finished piece, I always can. See, on this leg, I'm going to take this all the way past the white border. But that's just because I know on this leg it matters. But I'm still not going to be that concerned about being neat. There we go. So that's kind of my loose. And you see, now it looks like it's made of glass. And that's kind of cool. Not kind of what we're going for though. Just give this guy a really loose little one as well. Although what we'll do on this guy is probably going to end up being deleted. At least by, you know, kind of like 50%. Oops. There we go. My brush is too big when I've been drawing on him, so a lot of this stuff's going to have to be scaled back a bit because I've gone outside the lines. But to be honest, the whole lot is getting knocked back a bit. Right. Maybe not knocked back just yet. We're going to hue and saturation. And first thing I'm going to do is just make sure the colour's correct. Make sure we have like the best colour for the job. Now if I darken the colour, it tends to drop back. So it's almost as good as knocking the opacity down. And obviously if I knock the lightness all the way up, well, it goes to white, so that's why I didn't need to drop the opacity down. So if I drop that to about there, so it's barely registering and you think, what did I spend all that time doing? But it's, you know, it's kind of a subtlety that I like. And you know, that's why a finished illustration can take up to 2 weeks, because you spend all that time doing these subtle little things. But when you combine them all, they really do work. Now that red that's in there now, that kind of makes him feel like he's looming over you. There's a green there that kind of pushes him back. Same with that kind of brownie. The blue really makes him feel real. But I really like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick my layer transparency lock on, which means I can't draw outside of what I've already drawn on this layer, which is great. So I'm going to go for like a really big brush again, and then pick a colour from the background near this leg, and then just do that. Maybe I'll be better off doing that. And that just molds these pieces I've drawn more into the background. And that's what I'm looking to do. And just bring out colours in certain places. There we go. You know, and hopefully that'll really just add to it all. You know, if that makes sense. And you see the difference without it and with it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do you know, it has been so long. There is a way of doing this. Yeah, that was it. There was a way of loading a selection from that layer, and I just couldn't remember what it was. The shortcut. Normally don't do it. New layer. Inverse selection. Earlier on I put a white glow behind him anyway, but I want to do that again now. The only trouble is now that I've painted over so many things, it's kind of like, you can't just carry on doing things like that once you start painting on many different layers. But that's cool. You can always do selections like that. That's better, that's all I wanted. Alright, I'm going to go back to a small brush again. Change my softness to 82%. It was on 92, but I never go up to 100 because you can end up with some kind of rough looking edges. There we go. And I did that thing of just zooming madly in. There we go. Just give him a bit more. Just give this one in the background a bit more pizzazz. Has anyone got any questions, or everyone's gone quiet over there? I'm glad you're liking it. Like I said, I'll put this piece on my Patreon page after I'm done so you can actually see all the detail. I'm not saying you have to support me to look at it, you know, but support is obviously appreciated. It'll be there so everybody can come and have a look see. Thanks for watching though, Rude, and thanks for commenting on the videos that I put up lately as well. It's been very interesting to see people's opinions, especially on the Dell stuff. You know, and I think people's opinions on those videos have been great. You know, not just to hear, but you know, to help shape my own opinions. And I really mean that because a lot of people have helped point out things that I hadn't seen before or things that I hadn't thought of, and you know, just show me what the general consensus amongst other artists is, and that's, you know, immensely important, you know. It's whiteboard on it. This whole layer under here has somehow shifted at some point. Yay, fun! Rather than try to find it and adjust it, it's easier just to repaint it. There we go. I'm fairly happy with that bit. Add some dark corners. There we go. Even though you won't see most of that because it's under the white border. Which reminds me I've still got to repaint this bit's here. There we go. Slap that on. That's pretty cool. That does need a thicker white border around that there. Yep, that's cool. Breaking 1978 says, why Photoshop and not Corel Painter? Two reasons, personal choice. Two reasons basically. One, I just found that more people use Photoshop, so therefore I'm more likely to get more views for a Photoshop video than I am for Corel Painter. Second reason, Painter is more processor intensive because the way the brushes work. So I find that when live streaming, it's easier on my computer if I'm using Photoshop than using Painter. That's really the only reasons, you know. But thanks for joining me. It is awesome to see you here. Yeah, realistically, I don't mind painting, you know, in either, and I use both all the time. You know, for my commissions, mainly a lot of Painter, but on YouTube, I just seem to go straight for. On YouTube, I just seem to go straight for Photoshop. I just seem to find it's really easy. So. I'm going to pick a colour from the background here and then some more smoke again. Try and mute these buildings in the background with a bit of smoke. What I'm just trying to do here is just trying to tie everything in, so I'm constantly picking colours in from the background. And there's no reason I can't just do it over the tripod as well, but mainly over the buildings. There we go. There we go. Maybe add some different ones over there. Because if I only use one tone, then only one tone's going to show through and it's going to look like a flat colour. If I use two different colour tones over the clouds there, I'm going to get different tones showing through at least. So if I go to screen or something like that, there we go. But I can use the same one that I used over the tripod itself earlier. But that works on darks and lights. Isn't really what I'm going for. I can use something like overlay. That only works over the darks, but it only shows darks through. If I go for something like pin light at least gives me that little something, but it only works on extreme, so I only get the bright colours through coming over the darks. What I really want to do is hit normal. Oops, that's dissolve. Normal. But just turn the opacity right down maybe. Like that. And then put another layer over the top. If you can't get it exactly right, I find turn the opacity down and have another go. What I'm going to do with this one as well is just turn my turn the size of my brush up. And this time all I'm going to do is put a bit there in front of the leg. And that is literally just for this leg to wander in front of. Like that. I'll just keep adding bits, but I know I shouldn't. Yeah. It's not so bad. I seem to be getting away with just adding light bits. What I can do as well is come down here and add a gradient layer. So I'm going to cancel that for a minute. Go to my layer palette and just click it back to normal. Add a gradient layer like that. Change it to radial. Sorry. Reverse it so that I've got the dark on the outside. Then OK that. So you see I've created this kind of vignette. And now if I go to overlay, look at that. That's just ramped up no end. Probably a bit too much. But I can go to something like overlay, soft light, sorry. I could even go to colour burn and go with that. That's just weird. But we've got a few options in here. The soft light's alright though. All I need to do with that is just turn the volume down a bit. Volume, opacity. But you see the difference there. And I can even add kind of a hue and saturation layer in over the top of that and turn the saturation up. could even play with the overall colours if I wanted to. If I wanted a different colour to dominate. To be honest, I think that will mess with it though, so I don't want to do that, but I can change it so at least I get a different brightness on it. And I think that looks pretty cool. This is just a personal piece after all, so I think one thing I would do is just grab a brush, a white brush, and just try and head round the outside of it. And this is something I do all the time. Some people don't like this. Some people do. Some people do it as a signature thing. You know, it's a style though, so it really depends on your own personal style. It also depends on where the light's coming from. But I'm just gonna I'm just heading round and adding some extra bits of light, not just on the tripod but other places as well. Here we go. Here we go. There you go. And there's some other lights in the background as well, so you get the idea that there's more of them there. This main one, his lights don't seem so bright, so I'm just gonna add to those. Now, I'm not like amazingly blown away with this, but you know, it's a nice little sketch for however long I've spent on it. You know? Right. So I'm happy with that. And I hoped you liked it too. You know what? If I'm going to sign it, I may as well sign it properly. Resolution of my canvas is Badoom. There you go. 4,724 pixels wide. 5. And that's, yeah, and that's 300 dpi. So what's that in centimeters? Let's say 40 centimeters. Yeah. I take it Rude thinks that's a lot. Oh no. Rude's watching the fight. Try to sign my name with a huge brush. I always do that. I always start off with a brush that's far too big. And that's how you sign. Cool. And I think I can officially hit save on that. That's done. Yeah, it took me ages to work out how to do that signature just like that. But yeah, so cheers guys. Woo. I thought you'd rather see my hand drawing rather than see my face. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for the live stream. Thanks for joining me, everyone. And I shall see you next time. Until then, watch all my videos, click like, click subscribe, join me on Patreon, and I shall see you very soon. I'll tell you what, before you go, I'm going to type that in the live chat again, just so you know where to go. Hey. The finished piece will be up there for you to go and have a look at. Okay. Thanks everyone for coming. I shall see you soon. I'm really close to the camera, that's disturbing. Alright, see you soon guys. I shall try and live stream next Sunday.